Hi, everyone. My name is Hugo. I've been working for Burberry for nearly 5 years, previously as a business analyst and now as a design technologist. Today, I'm going to provide some insight into our experience with creating a multi-platform design system. Oh, and make sure to look out for Pop, a Burberry character of ours dotted throughout the presentation. So let's get started. For those who aren't familiar with us, Burberry is a 165-year-old British luxury fashion brand founded by Thomas Burberry. Our head office is based in London with regional offices in Shanghai, New York, Tokyo, Hong Kong, to name just a few. Historically, we are most well known for our signature check, which adorns many of our products, such as our scarves and the linings of our trench coats, as outlined by both Lizzie and Louis. Here's a quick look at what Burberry has done recently. So what do I mean by grand visions? Like all designers setting their sights on creating a design system, it often starts with an inflated ambition. There's that sense of trepidation and excitement inspired by pioneers at the forefront of the industry who have paved the way for their teams to deliver more efficiently to a higher quality, driving adoption of best-in-class design standards and processes. But like all comparisons that you draw from research, when the reality strikes, what you can achieve with the resource you have, how long it will take, who will need to be involved, how will you measure the success of it, it can be easy to feel disheartened. A wave of self-doubt envelops you. Quite frankly, you question why Figma has accepted you to talk on the subject of design systems amongst the very peers you've been researching. But it's okay. You can relax and realize you're here to talk on the topic of embracing the mess. After all, with a designer's toolkit of emojis and other presentational cliches at your disposal, what can possibly go wrong? So in embracing that mess today, I want to talk about the importance of retaining those grand visions whilst remaining practical in the steps to achieve them. I'll cover why we chose a multi-platform solution over a single platform design system, the importance of documentation and education in bringing designers from different disciplines together, and learning how to adapt your language to include and integrate with your main stakeholders. So why did we choose a multi-platform design system? Firstly, it's worth understanding where we were before. We had a single file with some basic guidance on typography, colors, grids, and icons, but this was targeted specifically for web usage. Our design files were distributed across Sketch and Figma. There was a lack of communication between designers working across different platforms and even internally within platforms when it came to understanding reuse. And there was no central documentation and we had no file structure in place. Our first action was to produce a cross-platform audit, realizing that there was a lot of repetition and minor inconsistency in some of the foundational elements that made up each of the platform's UIs. This presented an opportunity to reduce duplicate work. A multi-platform design system therefore emerged as a potential solution, as this could cater for more than a single platform. Adopting this approach meant that we could share a combination of design tokens or style libraries such as colors, spacing, and grids, and components, including buttons, input fields, and text links for use across each platform. Our design system caters for the foundational UI needs of our website, our app, and our email. We've decided to humanize our multi-platform design system by naming it Thomas, after our founder. As an innovator and philanthropist, he's central to Burberry's story, and this felt like a fitting tribute to him. The core values of Thomas are freedom, enabling our users to carve their own path and provide suggestions for improvements, precision, ensuring careful attention to detail in everything that we create, collaboration, cross-team and cross-discipline partnerships working to help enhance Thomas, and finally, automation, finding opportunities to simplify and evolve our processes over time to make the experience of designing easier. Before delving into how we approach creating Thomas, it's worth understanding some context. Our designers are multidisciplinary. They have a core and a flex area. For example, a single designer, such as Caroline, will have a principal focus working in a product team on checkout and a secondary focus working to support initiatives on our app. We have 20 designers based over 2 locations, London and Shanghai. We work with multiple different development agencies who are based internationally. Our 7 development teams are split to support different product functions, and each has autonomy to deliver in their own way. This can sometimes be a challenge in defining components in code to be shared between teams, let alone the different technology stacks associated with email, web, and app. From the conversations I've had with others in industry, building a design system this way is fairly rare. And I'd be very keen to know if anyone watching is currently working with external development agencies on your internal design system. If so, send me a tweet, and my Twitter handle is on the page. We're also delivering during a technical migration across all of our tech stack. A fresh start is beneficial to our cause, but rightly the department's priority is a smooth transition to new technologies. And finally, there's me, who's lucky enough to work on this full time. It's also worth understanding a little bit about how we operate as a team. Our work can mostly be informed by 4 project types. Campaign and initiative, looking to deliver custom experiences for our campaign moments, such as runway shows, held 4 times a year, twice for women, twice for men. Brand moments for big product launches, such as our bags, and once a year for our festive and Lunar New Year campaigns. This could be something like a unique AR experience for exploring our spring-summer campaign, and this always includes a level of custom development. A new feature, which are product and service offerings to help bring value to our overall customers' shopping experiences. For example, a new chat functionality, leveraging contact with our in-store staff. Iteration, improvements to pre-existing features, looking to optimize things such as size guides or filtering. And content updates, showcasing the fantastic stories about our brand and campaigns through content managed pages delivered by our editorial designers. When researching design systems by other companies, this 50-50 split of brand and campaign design with product design was much harder to find examples of. Burberry creates a lot of one-off unique experiences that are there to serve a single purpose. So how we build in that flexibility and, importantly, exclude elements from Thomas is all part of the challenge. Now, every team is different, but given the relative size of the task we had, including helping adopt a design system mindset amongst our designers, it felt natural to set a long-term ambition that could help bring all designers on the journey with us, helping to foster one of our principles, collaboration. Taking this approach meant accepting moving more slowly to account for the increased number of use cases. Thomas acted as a catalyst to align on some universal standards that could be easily shared across web, app, and email. This combination of breadth and depth has led to a lot of very long discussions in order to reach a consensus. But isn't going slowly just an excuse? Working at Burberry, it's vital to understand the importance of brand perception and image. As I mentioned previously, this is not unique to us alone. This is what anchors a lot of value in the luxury industry more broadly. Maintaining and elevating these standards, essentially getting it right, is very important. This approach is informed and inspired by the design and craftsmanship in our manufacturing process. For example, it takes a whole year for each specialist tailor to learn the stitching of the trench coat's collar, the most intricate part of its construction, which requires over 180 hand-sewn stitches. We want this ethos and attention to detail to carry through in the digital products we design for. So how do we determine what is included within Thomas versus what should remain platform specific? Our rule of thumb is this: if a pattern is shared by more than one platform, it lives under Thomas. Currently, this consideration relates to how we design in Figma and share libraries across teams. We are aware that the implementation in code will likely differ. To align with our values of freedom and precision, we try to provide designers with a wide variety of options to suit multiple different contexts, so that this can then minimize the need to create too many additional platform-specific libraries. A former colleague of mine highlighted that when designing for a multi-platform design system, it's important to consider the difference between consistency and coherency. Consistency is about uniformity, things that look and behave in the same way. Coherency is about clarity and giving customers the feeling that they are using something familiar. Consistency would be the recognition of the logo, whilst coherency would be whether something feels like Burberry. Our trench coat embodies this. Although the silhouettes differ, each of them encompass the signature Burberry style. Having this mindset really helps because it makes you think carefully about what is multi-platform versus single platform. This could be related to technical possibilities or limitations, which you should always validate, what the customer experience is meant to evoke for that specific platform, and whether there are any contextual challenges to a unified design pattern. Looking at the constituent parts that make up the different trench coats, it's clear that there are shared elements, buckles, fabrics, and even buttons. The same is the case for our design system. Some things are shared, whilst others are unique. Writing documentation can often feel like a tedious exercise. We've all been there. But when rules don't exist around how libraries and components should be utilized, it can serve as a great tool for discussion. Start where you have control. This may seem incredibly obvious, but it's something that we often lose sight of, particularly when you set grand visions for yourself. Understanding this helps us show value early on through providing clarity for the team in documentation and auditing. In fact, this approach informed a series of themes highlighting to the business how we were focusing our efforts. Each theme serves to extend the ambition and increase the visibility and influence of Thomas progressively over time. In theme 1, aligning design, is centered on having the design team's house in order first. We need to make sure that we have widespread adoption and communication of what is created in Figma by designers for designers. In theme 2, bridging the divide, it's how we work better at partnering with other teams such as copy, engineering, product management, marketing, by involving them further in the process. And finally, in theme 3, changes at scale, looking at options for automation, smart tooling, and challenging traditional roles and responsibilities to help them deliver more efficiently. Myself and these lovely people deliver the work on Thomas. We follow the federated approach, which basically ensures that all areas of all products have a say in what we set as our global standards. We are decision makers, providing governance for the design system at both single and multi-platform levels. We are advocates and educators who believe in its ability to simplify and improve work. We help to drive adoption amongst non-members, and we write documentation and create design artifacts. We are representatives, the eyes and ears of the product design team, ensuring the latest changes are reflected across platforms, who champion the close working relationship with development. Our designers represent a cross-section of both platform and platform area specialisms, and we also have engineering representation on the team. One of our biggest challenges is ensuring we can retain a 10% capacity a week from each committee member when other project work arises. And this is by no means a foolproof approach. We also rotate all designers in our team through the design system committee so that everyone gets a chance to contribute and learn from the experience. And who we have on screen is obviously only just a section of all of our designers. We've already had some team members join and some team members leave. So how does this work inside of Figma? We have a team set up relating to each platform and then a team specifically for Thomas. Inside the Thomas team, we store all design systems. For example, all components, tokens relating to app are inside a project entitled app, local design system. This ensures that any shared library comes from a single team inside Figma and means that any shared components are isolated within it. Aside from local components that designers may need to create for the purposes of delivering a specific UI, this helps to centrally manage the distribution and update from one team. On the subject of embracing the mess, the contents and structure of our libraries are by no means complete. Utilizing Figma's file hierarchy has been extremely helpful in working out how best to establish permissions and distribution. And I'm looking forward to trying out branching soon. To understand what we have at a more granular level inside the Thomas project, inside the Thomas team, we have two files, one for tokens and one for components. What you see here is what each page inside that file includes. On the right-hand side is a third file, which contains all of our guidelines for tokens and components. A top tip, Keeping the documentation separate from the master components and tokens ensures we can manage permissions more easily so that designers don't accidentally deploy any breaking changes. To understand how this is then applied in a design, here's an example of a product listing page design on web, which displays the origin of components and tokens. So this is where you might go and look through some of our products on the Burberry.com website. For instance, the icons are used across the website, app, and email designs, whereas the nav bar is a component solely utilized on web. Product cards can be shared, and we can utilize Figma variants to cover all scenarios for it to be included in Thomas, so that every platform is able to leverage the product cards usage. My final point covers adoption outside of your discipline. Helping drive adoption of the multi-platform design system requires a lot of coordination and agreement, in particular from engineering and product management. By understanding how you can support other strategies, you need to first understand what their motivations are and what problems they are trying to solve. With multi-platform design systems, this is admittedly more challenging as it requires bringing disparate teams with distinct priorities together. As I mentioned before, the customer's experience should be seamless across multiple touchpoints. Ideally, they shouldn't be able to tell that different teams have worked on different parts of the customer journey. Centralizing elements in your design system that are simplified and shared means that changes can be deployed centrally and ultimately hasten their appearance in the customer experience. It helps to consider the cost implications too. Requiring regular changes can often frustrate product managers as it can take up valuable capacity in their sprints, detracting from the ability to ship features. Finding ways to do this quickly and efficiently is vital. A few ideas of how this can be done. Check in regularly with product managers to ensure how their roadmaps are evolving and what you can do to support their vision. Support business analysts or whomever captures the requirements to create documentation around business rules for the use of components, thus reducing rework when implementing the same feature across teams. And be active within technical forums to understand how the architecture and technologies are evolving of the platforms you're supporting. Be mindful of language, and I'm not talking about swearing here. As design teams, we have a tendency to define our own terms and language when referring to design methodology. This use of internal jargon can be alienating for others and in some cases patronizing. This is the case particularly when the underlying meaning is shared with other disciplines. Take an example which I've used heavily in this presentation. The concept of design tokens bears very close resemblance to what engineers know as variables, whether in CSS or otherwise. Potato, potato. If you aren't already familiar with technical terms, I'd highly recommend shadowing or at least having a conversation with counterparts in engineering to ensure the language you use can be shared. So how do you actually get those changes made? Addressing design and technical debt can often be a challenge, particularly when it comes to putting forward a business case to product managers for what benefits may be achieved. There are operational efficiencies, sure, but when it comes to what the customer value is, visual changes can often be harder to argue for. Try embracing user testing, research, usability, and performance as a means to justify these changes. We actually found that design debt as a standalone term was insufficient in classifying the types of tasks we want to deliver. They required a more nuanced view, as you can see presented here. And this is not specific to multi-platform design systems, but could potentially be used more broadly for helping to drive adoption of the design system in the production environment. So in summary, the things to remember are: understand your rate of change. Sometimes it's okay to be slow and considered. This will help instill confidence in the design system from the outset, from which it can then evolve. Use documentation to aid clarity. This encourages collaboration between teams who may not have worked together before and drives empathy and a shared sense of responsibility. And finally, listen to others' challenges. The best way to integrate a multi-platform design system is if it solves problems within each of the teams that use it. I think that this quote from Uncle Bob, one of the founding fathers of clean architecture, is ultimately quite apt. The only way to go fast is to go well. Thank you.